Hi, everyone. Good afternoon, and welcome to our April Centering Servingness webinar. We're really excited to have you all here today. We know folks are very busy, so always happy to be in community and space. As you are coming in, feel free to use the chat function and introduce yourself. Just let us know where you're joining us from, what institution or area. My name is Carla Silva, and I serve as the Director for Hispanic Serving Institution Initiatives here at the University of Arizona. And again, I'm just excited to be here with all of you today. So as always, we do like to begin our webinars by recognizing and honoring the original inhabitants of the land on which the University of Arizona resides on. So we reside on the ancestral homelands of the Tohono O'odham Nation and the Pascua Yaqui tribe. We always offer our gratitude for the opportunity to share knowledge on these indigenous lands. And a little bit more about our webinar series. So we are informed by Dr. Gina Garcia's extensive scholarship on servingness. So this webinar series highlights faculty and staff, not only at the University of Arizona, but sometimes in Arizona or even nationally, whose work centers the cultural and lived experiences of those who work, study, and learn within our institutions. So the goal of our series is kind of threefold, right? So first, we want to spotlight the current scholarship and demonstrate how servingness is enacted across these different institutions. Second, we are inviting folks, our colleagues, right, from campus and across the nation to engage in and learn from this work. And lastly, we are wanting to build knowledge, right? So each month we're asking what are kind of those next steps needed to strengthen the institutional capacity of HSIs and servingness. And just a little bit about the University of Arizona. So we received our designation back in 2018, and we did become the first four-year public university in the state of Arizona to do so. In 2019, we received the inaugural Seal of Excellencia from Excellencia in Education, and we have since then been recertified twice, most recently in 2025. So I'm really excited for you all to join us today. Again, these presenters come in and just share their knowledge, the work they're doing, their strategies, so that folks can learn from each other, right? And so we do ask that if you have questions during the presentation, you use the chat or the Q&A while they're speaking, and we'll come back to those at the end. So we will leave a little bit of time at the end of the webinar presentation to address any questions you have. So today's session is looking at how can strength-based approaches advance servingness, specifically within the lens of engineering, right? So we're drawing from two campus communities in the Southwest, University of Arizona, as well as Northern Arizona University. And the presentation today will explore the processes of discovering, visualizing, and applying the different strengths that students bring as the foundation for their identity development and success in engineering. So I'm super excited again, and it is my honor to introduce our presenters for today. So from the University of Arizona, we have Dr. Vignesh Shubbian, and from Northern Arizona University, we have Dr. Christina Baze. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it on to them, and I'm excited for you all to learn from them.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Carla. Well, hello, everyone. Now you can see our slides, I hope. If there are any issues, please feel free to post things in the chat. Carla says we're good. Okay. As Carla introduced, I'm Christina Baze, Dr. Christina Baze up at Northern Arizona University. We kind of began the session with a bit of a land acknowledgement. I'll just add on here at Northern Arizona, we're at the base of the San Francisco Peaks, which is sacred to several many tribes in the area, notably the Navajo, the Diné people, and many others who I don't have time to name right now. So I just want to real quickly talk a little bit about my own positionality. I am in the Department of STEM Education. I started out as a high school science teacher, pretty quickly moved into teaching secondary science, and now I am teaching in a science and math teacher preparation program here at NAU. But I am so honored to be included in this webinar and to be working with Dr. Shubbian on this amazing project. So we want to kind of center all of this with thinking about strengths-based approaches, which is a tongue twister. So this session we'll talk kind of about our own project, the eCaminos program, which is at two campuses, both the Tucson and Yuma campuses, exploring how we can validate students' experiences within like this structure of serving or servingness. They engage in some activities that we'll talk about a little bit more that involve discovering, visualizing, applying their personal and professional strengths or assets, and how that can become a foundation for their professional identity formation and their ultimate success in their engineering programs and in science and engineering broadly. So I would like to take a moment. We want this to be fairly interactive. I invite you all to share in the chat what would it mean to move sort of from this strength based approach from a value, just like a theoretical thing, to a practice. Are there any concrete things that you've seen done or that you are doing yourself? Feel free to post that in the chat. Accessible technology is one I see. That's very good. What practices do we see? Oh yes, Marco, I'm happy to repeat the question. And I know people are still rolling in. So I invite you to post in the chat, what would it mean to move strengths-based approaches from a value to a practice? What are some concrete examples of practices, either that you're doing, that you've seen others do, that you want to try out? I'll also note this can be done at lots of different levels, like accessible technology in the classroom to maybe mentoring or like programmatic things. And like Carla clarifies, practical ways that we are doing or have seen done before. Thanks, Vignesh. Integrating students' lived experiences into classroom learning. Yeah. I'll allow you all to kind of marinate on that. I want to move on in the slides for time, but please continue interacting in the chat. So we're kind of working from this servingness framework with these three ideas or like these guiding ideas around structures, what organizational structures enable servingness, how servingness is enacted through relationships, these processes and people involved with this, as well as indicators. How do we even know that it's working, that what we're doing is doing what we think we're doing? We often, in a lot of this work, we hear about the first and last of those, but the processes we don't hear about as much. And this is important because this is the mechanism for enacting servingness. So I want you all to, we're going to talk a little bit about each of these, but thinking especially about how we do this through these processes and these people with these relationships. So at that, I'll take a moment to kind of read from the chat. People are talking about advising. Marco posts in terms of advising, being able to guide students to courses that will benefit them and do that they'll do well in. That's a really concrete practice. I love it. Martha talks about bilingualism, altering alternative language courses, for sure. That reminds me of translanguaging, which is like a culturally responsive practice where you kind of incorporate two languages in to build like academic language as well as whatever other local languages are present in the classroom. So keep thinking about those practical things, especially for processes. Okay, at this point, I will turn it over to my colleague Vignesh to talk about what we're doing in our own program.
Thank you, Christina. Hi, everybody. As Carla and Christina introduced, my name is Vignesh Shubbian at the University of Arizona. I have several identities. I'm an educator, I'm a health system scientist, I'm also an educational researcher and practitioner. today, for this moment, I'm just a collaborator that wants to share some of our work that we have been doing for the last decade. I'd like to reiterate this framework that Christina shared, the structures, processes, and indicators for serving. We are going to come back to this often. Several of you may have seen this before in other conversations and spaces. So to apply this framework, I wanted to share a project which is called eCaminos, or Engineering Pathways program here at the University of Arizona. And the structure for serving through this program is the multi-institutional or multi-campus model that we have at the University of Arizona. We have several campuses across the state and perhaps across the nation and even in the world. Today, we are focusing on two campuses, the University of Arizona campus in Tucson and the University of Arizona campus in Yuma. There are several other structures that go into this to enable servingness, and we're going to talk about what those structures are. And within this program, we are focused on two student populations that are served through these two campuses. In Tucson, we have a large group of students who transition from the secondary schools into the university. And we are focused on the engineering students who transition into the engineering programs. In Yuma, students transfer from co-located community colleges, for example, the Arizona Western College or Imperial Valley College in the California-Arizona border. And they finish their first 2 years in their community colleges and transition into one of the public university campuses in Yuma to complete their degree. So we would like to share and learn from all of you and all of us on what are some processes and who are the people that enact servingness for these two campuses and these two student populations. Our indicators and outcomes are we would like these students to develop a professional identity, a science identity, or an engineering identity, and complete their engineering degree, particularly within 4 years of time, and find and start a career in an engineering or a related discipline post-graduation. So those are some indicators. There are several other indicators, but we wanted to highlight these three as a starting point. We wanted to use most of our webinar time with all of you to share several stories of from and through this program. And we wanted to share first a narrative tale of these two campus communities. I showed a visual, but I also wanted to share some narrative between these two campus communities. In Yuma, as many of you know, serves a predominantly agricultural. It's a small town and serves western border communities. Students are often first generation. They transfer from Hispanic serving institutions, particularly two-year community colleges, and most of them are deeply rooted in their families and communities and in the Yuma County. They hold broader crossing knowledge and national identities as their strengths. In terms of engineering talent, there is a huge demand for water, agricultural, and energy infrastructure industries. There's also unique navigational strengths that students hold that are built through resilience and the scarcely populated but rich in other strengths in the Western Arizona area. On the other side, in Tucson, the University of Arizona Tucson campus serves predominantly metropolitan, the southern border communities. Students hold a lot of strengths in terms of navigating complex multilingual and multicultural contexts, as several of you identified in the chat. There's also strong ties, community ties, and land-based knowledge as assets. In terms of engineering needs or talent needs, there is a demand for semiconductor, military, and logistics industries. And students' trends are often shaped by proximities to these industry ecosystems and some strong cultural fluencies. This is not exhaustive, but we wanted to at least give you a narrative snapshot of the two campus communities and the student populations that these two campus communities seek to serve. So the eCaminos program offers several things. I wanted to highlight four of them here. First is it offers financial scholarships. Second, it helps steward portfolios, which help students document, reflect on their experiences, their strengths. And we do that through shared mentorship from faculty and staff and peers. We also offer externships, either in industry, in communities, or in research settings to help students develop experiential opportunities. And in addition to these four, all of these four happen through partnerships. So there is this fifth ship as well here in this program. Now, these four aspects map to specific structures and processes and outcomes. I already shared some of the outcomes, but I wanted to unpack some of these structures and processes for serving through the eCaminos program. So some structures that help the eCaminos program thrive. There are several, but I wanted to highlight a few. The Office of Financial Aid and Scholarships, the Office of Research and Partnerships at the University of Arizona. And as I indicated earlier, a multi-campus model that honors the land grant, and may I also add the HSI missions of the university. Partnerships with other post-secondary institutions, such as the Pima Community College or Maricopa Community College districts, or the Arizona Western Community College. Community and industry partnerships, mentorship and advising structures. There are several mentors and advisors in the room with us today. And the advising and mentorship from them is also a huge part of these structures for serving. And then a Center for Career Readiness in any of these institutions are also a part of the structure. These are only a partial list of structures for serving, but we wanted to focus more on how these structures translate through the people and processes to enable servingness. And that's what we wanted to focus on for the majority of the time. And we wanted to ask very specific questions on who are the people that are enabling servingness and what are the processes for enabling servingness and how do people do it. And we wanted to unpack that question into different stakeholder groups within the structure for serving. And we wanted to share this through multiple stories. So first, we wanted to ask and share, how do partnerships between post-secondary institutions enable servingness, and who does it? And you have a visual representation of our state of Arizona. And as you can see, Yuma is located on the western side. And we have all three public universities in Flagstaff, Phoenix, and Tucson. But those are just the main places and campuses. But all three public universities have satellite campuses throughout the state and throughout the nation, and perhaps even throughout the world. And Yuma is unique because all three public universities have satellite campuses in Yuma, offering different educational programs to the communities in that border area. As many of you know, the economy of Yuma centers predominantly around agriculture. There's also other industries, but agriculture is the heart of Yuma. It's the leafy greens capital of the United States. back in the early 2000s, the community leaders and industry stakeholders in Yuma, they identified that a place-based education program related to engineering is what would help the community address the shortage of engineers in Yuma, particularly in the large agriculture industry, the logistics industry. There is also a U.S. Army base in Yuma, the Yuma Proving Grounds, and back then, the emerging renewable energy industry. So this is the first decade of 2000s. So I want all of us to go back a few decades. And the community leaders then identified collaboratively uh, through partnerships and through listening from the stakeholders. They identified that systems engineering and industrial engineering as the degree programs that would be ideal for this community because systems and industrial engineers would serve all of those different industries, agriculture, logistics, the military, and the emerging energy industry back then. So they worked with Arizona Western College, and Arizona Western College is the first community college in the state of Arizona. And back then, it was also the Hispanic serving institutions. The public universities were not formally designated as Hispanic serving institutions at that particular time. So the community leaders worked with Arizona Western College and other community colleges within that border region to help build programs to translate this idea of a place-based engineering program in the Yuma region. So that's how the partnership grew in the Yuma region of a few decades back. Now we wanted to ask, how did the College of Engineering, given the focus on engineering, enact servingness, and who did this? So fast forward a few years, the second decade of the 21st century, around 2011, Arizona Western College was awarded a Department of Education HSI STEM grant to translate the idea that the community leaders identified, which is a four-year degree program in systems engineering and industrial engineering in or at the Yuma campus in collaboration with the University of Arizona. And it just so happens that the nation's, or perhaps even the world's first academic systems engineering program happened to be at the University of Arizona. So the faculty experts at that time, they co-developed the program. They designed courses, both didactic and laboratory courses, assessment plans, and in about 8 to 10 years, they had a full program established between Arizona Western College and the University of Arizona. And by 2016, this was around the time the Department of Education grant was coming to an end. There was a program established between Arizona Western College and the University of Arizona's College of Engineering to have a four-year program in the Yuma campus. And this doesn't happen without the people. So a part of what the Department of Education grant encouraged and offered is permanent advisors and full-time engineering and science faculty and staff advisors. Some of you may be in the room today with us. And through those people, those staff and faculty, the University of Arizona and the Arizona Western College are able to offer full-time engineering programs in systems engineering and industrial engineering and biosystems engineering, as well as software engineering. So given that we have permanent faculty and staff, including academic advisors in UMA, we wanted to ask, how does faculty mentorship and staff advising enable servingness, and who does that, and how do they do it? So, as a part of the partnership, today there exists cross-institutionally coordinated courses between the two campuses in UMA. And it's not unique to just UMA. It happens in Tucson as well, between the Tucson campus and the Pima Community College campus. It also happens in Flagstaff between the Northern Arizona University and community colleges in the Coconino County. So there's cross-institutionally coordinated courses. There's cross-institutional advising. There's a lot of role modeling and mentorship before and after students transfer between those two campuses. Even though there is a co-located campus, there are actual human resources on either side in the same campus helping students and helping students navigate the transitional process. Keeping the outcomes in mind, that they would like to graduate with an engineering degree. And there's more indicators. They have to be placed in engineering careers in that community as well. And I wanted to highlight one of those people who does that. So as a part of the permanent faculty in UMA is Dr. Sam Peffers. So he was one of the people who would teach those cross-institutional courses. He would advise students prior to transfer, and he would also mentor and shepherd them through the program post-transfer at the University of Arizona. So Dr. Pepper's vision was to offer scholarships, stewardships, mentorship, experiential opportunities for students, and to sustain the partnerships with the community. So that was his vision. So in 2016, that was when I visited UMA for the very first time, and I learned all of the stories that I shared so far from Sam Peffers and Tanya Hodges, who is what we call the guardian of the Yuma Galaxy within the University of Arizona. And they showed me the actual place and the people that does all of the work day to day. And Sam Peffers highlighted that he shared that these students do not know how good they are. They have so much navigational capital and cultural capital that they have built through growing up in this community that they really don't know how good they are. So he pointed out that the first thing we need to do is we need to find ways to help them understand how good they are. So at least that's how I interpreted it. Second, he said, these students need scholarships. They come from a financially disadvantaged background, and Tucson and Yuma are not the same. So these students do need a scholarship to complete their science degrees or engineering degrees or any degree. And regardless of which public university they go, they do need scholarship. And then he said they also need mentorship, which I have it down. He said, I know how to do this. I've been doing this for the last 5 years. So this was in 2016. And we have an amazing group of staff advisors. And I also have faculty colleagues with me, and we know how to do that mentorship. So I have that part down. And I can tell you how to do that in Tucson. So that's the other part he offered. And then the third thing he said was, I do want them to to get some experiential opportunity before they graduate. I don't want them to graduate without knowing what it's like to work in the real world. And he told me why. He said people from the Yuma County have not seen anything besides um, Yuma. So they do really need to know what it's like to work in the real world, besides their home and their college. So creating that real world experience is important, is the other aspect that he identified. And then finally, he said, do not forget the partnerships. So all of the partnerships that we built in this Yuma campus, and he would, I remember he did a 360 degrees turnaround, and he said, we have Northern Arizona University here. We have Arizona State University here. We have University of Arizona here. We have Arizona Western College here. And we have a rich community and industry partnership outside of this campus who would help us, and we need to sustain those partnerships. So, and I naively, while driving back from Yuma, thought, oh, that sounds simple. He already gave me the blueprint for what he needs, and he already has the partnerships. So we put together a proposal. And right after those initial first few meetings, and we thought, let's put all of those 5 pieces together into a proposal, and let's get more support to actually do it and implement it in Yuma, and perhaps across the state. So this was back in around 2017, early 2018. The first version of that proposal went in. We worked with the Office of Research and Partnerships. Back then it was called Research Discovery and Innovation. And there are several teams within all of our public universities that help with research. At the University of Arizona, there is a research development team that helped with several versions of the proposal. So it did not, we were not successful the very first time. It took us 5 submissions and 8 years to actually get the National Science Foundation to convince National Science Foundation that this is an investment for the community. And you may have seen the title of this webinar, Linking Student Assets to Student Success. And that was coined by some people within the research development team. Say they talked to us and they asked, well, what do you want to do? And I shared some of these stories. And should it be linking students' assets for student success, or is it between student assets and student success? They not only helped us with just the narrative, but also connecting some of the evidence related that existed in the literature already to help inform the work. This was also around the time the University of Arizona was starting to put together the documentation for getting formally recognized as a Hispanic serving institution. And as I said, it took 8 years for us to actually convince the National Science Foundation to fund this proposal. And in 2024, this proposal took different, it took a different shape than what it was initially proposed in 2017, but it had all of the components that Sam Pfeffer's envisioned. It had these scholarships, it had the experiential learning opportunities, the mentorships, and it also had some strategies to help realize students how good they are. So that is one part which was not clear to us in the 8 to 9 years back. But we offered strength-based practices as a model to help students realize how good they are. So a big part of that, as Sam mentioned, was scholarships. So the National Science Foundation offered 60% of the project budget as as scholarships for these the students. And we wanted to ask, we reached out to the Office of Financial Aid and Scholarships, and we asked, would you help us with this project? And they said, absolutely, we would help you. And this is how we would help you. And they said, we will help you first find the students who actually need the scholarship. We will help you how to determine what is the need for scholarship. We will help you with awarding it. We would help you with dispersing it. And we said, okay, great. And then it actually happened when the project was actually funded. So we had no clue how to do it. So Christina, I, and Sam, we knew that scholarship was an important a piece of this project, but we had no clue how to do it. And today, the Office of Financial Aid and Scholarship, including the director for that particular office, works day to day to do all of those pieces, getting the right amount of scholarship to the right students and the right communities at the right time. So scholarship, as the director Art Young would say, it is a moving target. So the need for scholarship today may not be the same as 48 hours later. I still don't understand what that means, but he makes it work, and he helps us with all of the scholarship administration. And he works with staff advisors in the different colleges across campuses to make sure that the students know about this opportunity and they're able to access this scholarship, and these scholarships are actually dispersed on time. And coming to the most important part of the servingness framework, what does servingness actually look like to students? So it was a great process for us on how do we help students identify how good they are. So, and there are several evidence-based practices to do that. And we initially framed strength-based practices as a part of the structure for serving. And today we have moved that as a mechanism or as a process of enabling servingness. There are many ways to do that. We wanted to share at least one strategies, and then we have a living toolbox that we will share with you at the end that all of you can take with you to work with students. So one of the processes is this iterative process of discovering, visualizing, and applying strengths or assets. So we have today we have around 30 students in our program. Our aspiration is close to 60 students by 2029 across both campuses. And we have students iteratively identify what are their sociocultural, professional, and personal strengths and document them through a structured portfolio process. We also have students reflect and visualize and narrate what their experiences and strengths are through their portfolios. And I'll show you an example in a second. And then our hope is we work with all stakeholders, our advisors, our faculties, and the peers to actively validate those strengths and use them to shape advising, mentorship, and career pathways in science and engineering. So one of the activities we do is we have them do a story over time, a graph. I've shared several stories with you already, but students bring a lot of stories with them. And we have them visualize their first experiences, their transitions or milestones, and they all have accomplishments. And then we have them map this over time. And we have them map it again longitudinally. So, for example, we have them do this at the start of their transition from high school to the university or from the community college to the university. And we have them do it at the end of every semester. We have them do it at the end of every year. And what we are seeing is the things that they are visualizing in the story over time graph evolves and changes over time. What is important to them, what they recognize, changes over time. And they start to use this graph to communicate who they are and what they can bring to the table and what their strengths are and skills are. And we have several other indicators and outcomes that we are starting to see from these experiences. In the interest of time, I wanted to share a few of them and save some for discussion. So I mentioned that there are three broad indicators. We do want them to develop a professional identity in addition to their personal identities. We want them to graduate with a college degree, possibly with an engineering degree. And then we also want them to get placed in an engineering career, preferably in their community that they would like to serve, either in the southwestern region. So we are learning that students from both campuses, and Sam was right, that students hold rich strengths and assets, but they often go unnamed. So we are starting to see that students are trying to label them and calling them differently over time. The process of that naming and mapping those strengths also shifts their identity of who they are. They start to call themselves engineers sooner than later when they start to name and map their strengths. Students from both campuses describe their assets differently. So if you ask students, for example, what are your skills? Everybody would say, well, I have a lot of skills. I can design things, I can program things, I can build things. But the way they frame it is very different for the students from these two campuses. Strength-based mentoring, no surprises here, changes how students view and navigate challenges. If they know that there is somebody looking out for them, and if they know that they actually and sincerely respect and validate who they are and what their strengths are, the way they view the hardships is very different. And the extent to how quickly they navigate those is also different. Faculty mentors are also starting to see students differently through this lens of strength-based mentoring and advising. And eCaminos is only one of the many projects that uses strength-based practices. So we have been implementing and learning and unlearning these practices with faculty colleagues for several years, and we are starting to see this shift. And early data is also starting to show the stronger persistence and retention and stronger professional identities among our students. So these are some early indicators of serving or for enabling servingness that we are starting to see in our projects. And a huge portion of why and how we are seeing these indicators goes really to all of the people that we shared throughout this webinar. People from the Office of Scholarship, Financial Aid and Scholarship, people from the Office of Research, the academic advisors, the permanent academic advisors in Tucson and Yuma, in Flagstaff and in the Maricopa County region. So the people are really what drives these indicators. And I've mentioned Sam Peffers several times in our conversation. And right after this webinar was announced, we also learned that Sam passed away last week. However, his vision continues to live through the program and the people and the partnership that he has built. So we wanted to leave you again with our servingness framework, which is the structures for serving and the indicators for serving are what we have talked about extensively over the years. But the people and the processes for serving are equally important to enable servingness. And as promised, we wanted to share a living implementation guide that has some of the lessons that we are continuing to learn through the eCaminos and through other projects. And this link will take you to this implementation guide that has some practical tools. And we will also we are maintaining this over time. So any ideas that you have, you can share that through this guide. And we will commit to maintaining this guide and growing it and sharing it with all of you. With that, we wanted to save some time for some discussion and questions.
Awesome. Thank you both for presenting. As just mentioned, if you have questions or anything else, feel free to use the chat or the Q&A. This was great. And if you haven't, we can definitely get the link for this QR code to follow up with folks, and it will be included in the recording of the webinar. But I'll give you a few minutes if there are questions or thoughts. We had some great comments about what you shared too, about the professor just being incredible, an incredible advocate and human being, and tenacious in the chat. So thank you all for sharing. Well, while you all think a little bit maybe about what you want to ask, or just some ideas, we do have a few questions for you both, Christina and Vignesh. So first, of course, just thank you for sharing your brilliance and the work that you all are doing. It's amazing to be able to, hear about this and know kind of what's going on at these different institutions, because we know that students, right, might go to one institution and possibly transfer, right, to one of the other institutions with our state. So knowing that they have some kind of support and resources at each of our HSIs, I think is incredible. So, one of the questions I think I'm curious about is, right, so you all were drawing from the two different campus communities. So in particular, were there any lessons that emerged in partnerships, especially if folks are maybe thinking of some type of partnership with a different institution that may have that lens of engineering? And either of you can respond.
Lessons from partnerships. I think listening to the community and community stakeholders is a huge lesson, and continuing to grow those partnerships and sustaining those partnerships is critical, and it has to be a polygon, or it has to go in all directions. the community colleges, the public universities, the local government in each of the regions, and the industries that are co-located in each of our communities. I think they should all work together to to do the sustainability part over time. I'll share one example from the University of Arizona because it's happening currently. Is the university is coming together in a very collective way to commit to Western Arizona and the Yuma region, and advancing all components of the mission of the institution, the student success mission, the research mission, and the community engagement mission. If we look at all of that independently, I think that is a bad recipe for partnerships. So I think what the university is doing right now is looking at all three of them collectively and working with the agricultural community in the Yuma region and establishing an agricultural research center in the Yuma region. And then identifying all of the partners that would work with the college and universities in the region. So I think that is the strategy for, or one of the lessons that we have picked up from our project.
Awesome. And we do have one question in our Q&A that just popped up. So they are asking, how do you keep track of the portfolios of strengths and experiences? What tools do you use?
Great question. So we have two versions of our portfolios, and we call one version as a sandbox, and that is shared just between the students and us. And that is a safe space for us to do all of the discovery, all of the mapping and the visualization, and to figure out which parts of us do we want to share, and for what purpose. And then we have a public version of the portfolio that students publish when they're ready. So we usually give them at least a year in the program, so to help them just keep it in draft form, and then about the end of the first year, we encourage them to publish it publicly, and we encourage them to use that when they talk to their advisors and to their faculty mentors, to their employers, so that people who work with the students can also actually engage with their portfolios. So, and there are several tools that we could use for the sandbox. We just use a shared document. So it doesn't have to be anything fancy. And for the public portfolios, the university, each of our public universities have a licensed version of a portfolio platform that they could use. So we let students use either that or a tool that they are comfortable with, any of the Adobe tools or Google tools. So it's really up to the students on what tool that they would like to use, as long as it's accessible and is licensed within our university communities.
Thank you. We have another question in the chat. So we were asked what next steps could enable advancing the efforts you are both leading, and how might efforts scale and grow to positively impact students?
I'll invite Christina here in a moment too. I'll start with some suggestions. Thank you, Dr. Franco, for the question. I think doing more of what we are currently doing at the moment, which is sharing what we are learning from the program. So we really appreciate the opportunity to be a part of this of a webinar and to share this with the community. And we see this as a bidirectional learning process. So we want to use these opportunities to also learn from people who would work with the students, faculty colleagues, academic advisors, coordinators related to student support systems like the financial aid, like the career readiness advisors, for all of them to also share what are some strategies that we could use when we work with students. So more dissemination, more broader dissemination, and more active dissemination of the evidence that we are learning from this work is I think one of the important next steps for us because we are still early in our implementation. We feel that we have been in the dream phase for the last decade, so there's a lot more to learn, and there's a larger team behind this project, including several of you in this room. So learning from all of you over the next few years and disseminating them. Christina, anything else?
Yeah, I'll just re-emphasize that we appreciate this opportunity to share our work. We've got a conference coming up, so we'll continue disseminating as we continue in the project to get more findings. I think also just to kind of harken back to what we've been talking about, Dr. Peffer's role in Yuma has been so instrumental, well, with the project at whole, but his relationships with the students, the community, the industry partners in Yuma has been just so key, and his loss is really being felt at all angles. Obviously, with the students directly, they've been sharing some really beautiful stories that they've had with him, but also with just that work, with getting them through their engineering programs, helping them be successful, and guiding this project itself. So that's something that we have to think about and consider is how we're going to continue serving those students in Yuma specifically. And so we're going to keep going. We'll find a way. That's kind of what's been on my mind right now.
Awesome. Thank you both so much. So as you know, we always end our webinar with one question. And so I'm going to ask that final question to you all, and then we'll wrap up. So in the work that you all are doing, can you just share, what next steps do you think are needed to build institutional capacity around HSI servingness?
I'll try to keep this quick, but here at NAU, and I think it's probably similarly at U of A, and probably SU as well, is just trying to ensure that we've got support from our institutional leadership to do this so important work. We play around with language a lot to make sure we're complying with federal directions and all of that stuff, but servingness doesn't stop just when we can't say DEI stuff anymore. And so continuing the work with support from our administrators, university presidents, vice presidents, provosts, all of that is really important. And I think we need a little bit more of it.
I would add building capacity for the extension specialists at all of the public universities is a very tangible activity that we could all do. What they do is servingness. That's who they are. So I think finding ways to work with extension specialists in our communities is an area to build capacity.
Awesome. Well, thank you both again. If you're still here with us, please thank our presenters for today. It was incredible to be able to hear about the cross collaboration and the work being done, in particular for our engineering students at our respective universities. You all really did model, that authentic engagement, right? Engaging with each other, engaging with students, and engaging with your community. So we're super grateful for the time that you spent with us today. And so just to wrap up, our next webinar and our final webinar for this academic year will be next month on May 21st, 2026 at the same time, 1 p.m. Arizona time. This time we will be joined by Dr. Lori Sheldon and Dr. Nadia Alvarez Mejia, and they will be presenting on honors as origin for a national opportunity and research support in Hispanic serving institutions. So honors in HSI. So we hope you're able to join us then. And again, thank you so much to our presenters, and we look forward to seeing you next month. Have a great day, everyone.
Bye.